Coming up on this watershed edition of Inside Bellingham, speed bump or speed hump. They can be an irritating necessity. We'll find out who puts them there and why. And do you know what reed canary grass is and why these people are working to get rid of it? And we'll describe the health of Lake Whatcom and how you can help keep the lake clean. And a great asset to crime prevention in the downtown area returns. All this and a stream of information more right here on Inside Bellingham. Hi, and welcome to Inside Bellingham. I'm Doug Waldo. And this is Bellingham's Silver Beach neighborhood, nestled along the north end of Lake Whatcom. Silver Beach is home to the charming Big Rock Garden on Sylvan Street. Nearly 3 acres of art and nature blend into a unique collection of striking plants, serene views, and changing sculptures from all over North America. The Silver Beach neighborhood is located along the eastern edge of Bellingham with nearly 3,000 people calling it home. The neighborhood hugs 3 miles of lake shoreline and spreads up into the nearby hillsides. Many of us take advantage of the 20-acre Blodell Donovan Park. It's one of the most popular in the city, boasting a public boat launch, swimming, picnicking, lake-related workshops, and host to many community events. Folks at Silver Beach take pride in their front and center role in protecting the health of Lake Whatcom. As you probably know, Lake Whatcom is our drinking water reservoir, serving half the population of Whatcom County, including all of the city of Bellingham. City officials are concerned about the health of this precious water resource and anticipate taking rigorous steps to protect the lake, and hope that city residents will do their part too. Kim Spens has this report about the declining health of Lake Whatcom.
Lakes change slowly. Only in the last decade or so has the water quality in Lake Whatcom started to change. The Washington State Department of Ecology was concerned enough about algae growth in Lake Whatcom in 1998 to place the lake on the state list of water bodies that fail to meet water quality standards. That listing, required under the Federal Clean Water Act, triggered plans for mandatory improvements. Implementation of these plans has been slow, but the delays are about to end. So why should we care about algae in the lake? Well, when algae dies, it uses up oxygen that plants and animals in the lake require. It can also make your water taste bad and smell bad, and there can be some health effects.
Algae in a lake is perfectly natural. In a lake or a pond or a stream, you always need algae. They circulate the nutrients that are in there. So the algae is really not the problem. It's the added nutrients that come into the lake that make it grow to such high extent that it impacts the quality of the water. So Lake Whatcom is considered somewhat of an oligotrophic lake. That means it doesn't have a lot of nutrients in it. Doesn't have an extremely bad blue-green algae bloom. It's one of the cleaner lakes in the state of Washington. However, as we've been monitoring it over the years, we've seen the phosphorus concentrations increase. We've seen the nitrate in the lower waters go to 0 or close to 0 in the summer. And we've seen changes occur at the treatment plant, at the water treatment plant. They've been getting more particles in the water. And so it's been changing over the years. As the concentrations of algae increase in the lake, that also causes a condition at the water treatment plant because we have to overchlorinate to treat the water. And chlorine with lots of organic matter will create something called THMs, which are not good to have in your drinking water. But it's hard to get around the chlorination because we want to keep the water safe for our citizens to drink. So algae always need nutrients in the lake, nutrients being phosphorus and nitrogen mostly. In a residential area such as Lake Whatcom, or at least at the north end of the basin, where there are lots of houses, lots of roads, lots of driveways, you have impervious surface areas for one thing. What impervious surface area does is it decreases the amount of water that can percolate to the earth, and it makes it run off faster and get to the lake and the streams faster, causing more erosion by the high flow of the water. In addition, the lawn care is very important. A lot of it comes from the lawns and the fertilizers we put on them. So they often put phosphorus in detergents to aid in cleaning. And at the same time, that phosphorus also becomes available when it goes into the lake, available to the algae to contribute to growth. We want people to be responsible and take care of their wastes. Pets, any animals the waste are not taken care of properly, and also faulty septic systems around the lake will contribute to phosphorus inputs. Lake Whatcom will continue to age, and as we're putting more phosphorus into it, it'll age faster than it would if we controlled the phosphorus going into the lake.
Lake Whatcom is changing, but if we want to slow the lake's changes, we have to speed up the pace of our own changes. Changing habits is hard. What we build, how we clean our cars, how we clean up after our pets, what we plant in our yards, and more. But these are the kinds of changes we need to make to protect our lake, the source of our precious drinking water. Lake Whatcom provides water for about 92,000 people. Right now, our treated drinking water far exceeds mandatory federal safety standards and even more stringent voluntary standards. And our drinking water usually tastes great.
Now, having too much algae in the lake can affect the drinking water quality by causing taste and odor problems. You may have noticed that toward the end of the summer, it can actually cause kind of a lake musty odor in the water, and around the lake you may smell that too. As we see these changes occurring, it's to the point where we know that something should be done to help protect it. Because as you notice the changes occurring, you know they've already occurred actually. The phosphorus is already increasing in the lake. We're going to continue to get the internal loading from the sediments that are already there, and the situation will likely just get more severe. So it's important right now to reduce the amount of phosphorus that's going into the lake, and especially in Basin 1, the northern basin of Lake Whatcom. The most important players in that are the residences and the people and what they're doing on their lawns, with their septic tanks, with their pet waste.
Local officials are working hard to study the lake and make wise decisions about its future. We know that Lake Whatcom water quality is declining, and at a pace that is faster than expected. City officials have made Lake Whatcom a top priority for this year and will consider rigorous actions to protect our lake. You need to take responsibility too. We need people throughout Whatcom County, especially those that live in the Lake Whatcom watershed, to take individual actions to protect the lake. And we need everyone to learn more about Lake Whatcom so they can make informed decisions about upcoming city government proposals to protect it. Residents of the City of Bellingham will receive the city's annual water quality report in the mail soon, which will provide important information about Lake Whatcom. Look for it in your mailbox and learn more about the lake. Protecting Lake Whatcom is our responsibility, not one we should leave to our children and grandchildren. We know the lake is changing, and each day, each month, each year we delay will take another day or month or year to bring our lake back to health. Let's start today.
If you live in the city, look for more information about Lake Whatcom in your mailbox during April and May. A more detailed report is available for those who want to learn more. Please visit www.clb.org. Have you ever heard the term traffic calming? Well, it's the name given to projects intended to modify unsafe traffic conditions. Now, we know that traffic on residential streets can greatly affect the safety and the quality of life in our neighborhoods. Chris Como is the city's transportation planner, and we asked him to explain how these traffic calming projects work in our neighborhoods.
The way that our neighborhood traffic safety program works is people get together in their neighborhood associations, and they identify places in their neighborhood where they think that there is a speeding issue or a heavy volume issue on a residential street in their neighborhood. And then the neighborhood association gets in touch with us, city staff, and we will collect that information one time per year, and we'll come out and do traffic counts in the locations that they've identified. And if we detect a speeding or volume issue on a street and it qualifies for what we call phase 2 in our neighborhood traffic safety program, then we'll put it on a list of streets to be addressed with our traffic calming measures, solutions like these speed humps to try to solve the problem we've identified. This is West Indiana Street in the Cornwall Park neighborhood, and we're looking at some speed humps that were installed last year around November to deal with a speeding and volume issue that we'd been able to measure with our traffic counts.
When I drive over those, I can't drive over those faster than 20 miles an hour, so I imagine that they're a really good deterrent for speeders, unless they enjoy that type of ride in their automobile. Plus, in the wintertime, I see lots of kids sledding down, and this last, 3 snowfalls, I didn't see any kids sledding down, so I think it was probably a good thing too. If they could sled in the park, that's much safer, I would think.
Well, I think the speed humps can be effective when they're placed and strategically located, and we rely on our engineering staff for that. In this case, they've worked really well. In some other cases, we have not seen the same kind of results as we have here, and if they're not done correctly, they don't have the desired effect. You can see here on West Indiana, they're placed a certain distance apart. That's important because as people are driving, we need to make sure that they know that there's another one ahead, so that there isn't an incentive to then, as soon as you get over the speed hump, just accelerate and be speeding again. We do sometimes get questions about the speed humps in regard to how big they are, and there are some differences between the type of speed bump you might find in a parking lot and the type of speed hump we use here for traffic calming purposes. You can see that this speed hump here is about 8 feet wide. I believe this one is about 12 to 15 feet long, and it rises to a height of about 4 inches or so. And they're designed to be driven over at a speed of about 15 miles an hour. The whole idea is that right in the vicinity of the speed hump, we're slowing the traffic to about 15. Then on the whole corridor, we're trying to get that traffic to be within about that 25-mile-an-hour speed limit. It's certainly true that there are some negatives as well as positives about speed humps. We can place these things on a street and try to solve some of the problems that we've identified, and in this case it's been effective, but the downsides are that everybody who lives on this street now has to drive over them every single time they leave their house. People who live on the street are listening to the noise as each car goes over the speed hump, and there is a sound associated with people accelerating away from the speed hump, so there's noise generated there. Those are some of the issues that we're aware of and hear about. We also need to make sure that we're not compromising our public safety response time with fire engines and ambulances. So we work with the fire department to make sure that that isn't going to be a problem for them, but I know some people are concerned about that as well.
You can find out more about traffic safety and traffic calming by visiting www.cob.org/tw. Over at Happy Valley Neighborhood Park, everyone can walk Connolly Creek Trail, play on the playground, have a picnic, but one guest has become very unwelcome there. It's an invasive weed that is pushing the native flora right out of the park. The problem is reed canary grass. Have you ever seen it? It's small, but it spreads like wildfire. To attack the weed, some folks are putting their minds and their backs together for a few sessions of hard work.
We've tried to do things like spray Roundup. We've tried to do things like plant little trees and big trees. We've tried everything. And after 15 years of work, we found out the only way to really get trees to a level where they can shade this out is to get rid of the reed canary grass.
So the best way is to block out the light, keep the light from getting to the plant so it can't photosynthesize and grow. What we're going to do is put down cardboard, then mulch on top 5 to 6 to 8 inches, and cover every possible area we can.
What we've done is develop a whole protocol that works with the different partners, and everybody does something that they do well. We have Western Washington college students here today, and they're helping with labor. We have kids here from the neighborhood, they're helping with their labor. We have employees from the city of Bellingham, and we have AmeriCorps workers from Nooksack Salmon Enhancement Association working together. So all the people work together is a big jigsaw puzzle. And the jigsaw puzzle is coming together to create a whole picture right here.
When I first thought about this project, every time I'm here, it's usually the wintertime, it's wet, it's sloshy, it's muddy, and I'm thinking, oh, how are we going to get people out here? But our first party was great. We had people stripping the cardboard, taking the staples out, taking off the tape, and what happens is everybody finds what they can do best.
Well, I haven't used my muscles in a really long time, so it's a little bit more difficult for me, but not really. I mean, there's little kids running around helping, so that's something that anyone can do.
Mostly, you see, I'm a supervisor. Mostly I tell others what to do, but I occasionally just demonstrate how to do it before I go off to give my next order.
Then there's other people filling up wheelbarrows, and it's just the synergy gets started and everybody can start to see it's happening. We can't believe it. We're starting at the edge of the creek, we're moving out, and you get done and this mountain of over 100 yards of mulch is gone, and you're tired, but it's going to help.
I think it's so important for us to, as communities, come together, bring our children along, and let them get a feel about how important we think it is. Yes. And it showed that the kids pick up on that. And so if we want a decent planet for our grandchildren, we're going to have to get our children out here and doing this.
Because you hear about things like how things are getting worse, and this is just so easy.
Those first 5 to 10 years are a critical time to maintain the health of those trees and to keep down the invasive species. So partnerships with Happy Valley Neighborhood Association, co-housing, City of Bellingham, Greenways, City of Bellingham Public Works, Nooksack Salmon Enhancement Association are very important to make sure that we do this well, we do this right, and we do this in the long term.
You can find out more about volunteering in our parks by visiting www.cob.org/parks and click on Volunteer. They're back! If you've been downtown lately, you may have noticed the return of police bicycle patrols. Now, since December, no matter what the weather, and we've had some pretty crummy weather so far this year, bicycle patrol officers have been cycling the Central Business District. Now, we recently had a chance to observe these officers up close and find out why they offer a better crime-fighting solution on bikes than in patrol cars.
Bike is very specific why it's better for downtown. Downtown with the alleys and the places that are a little harder to get to in the patrol car. It's quicker, especially with the one-way streets. It's just easier to maneuver on a bicycle. I refer to it as a more basic form of law enforcement. We're not dictated as much by the computer and what's holding, what calls we have to go to. We're out here just finding stuff, and we're not just always responding to calls. So I just like it because it's like what you wanted to get into law enforcement. You just go out and find things. You're not always just being sent to things.
I think it's really good, actually. They've been helping the community by taking care of people with warrants that have been out downtown. They've been getting rid of the little crowds that are down on the corners down here, so I think it's great.
I don't know all the things that they do, but I think I just feel good knowing that they're out there kind of in the midst of things.
I guess I like it. I guess I just like bikes a lot more than cars, and it's good to see that cops are on their bikes too.
I think anything that gets people out of cars is a good thing, and the police look less aggressive and confrontational when they're on a bicycle.
What other questions did you have? What's your name? Jonah? My name's Damon.
Initially, when we first started back up on the unit, just several business owners walking to and from their business to coffee, or just other Bellingham residents coming downtown and seeing the bike unit and just thanking us for being out and being a visible presence downtown.
I think it's an excellent idea. I think number one, the presence of the police around town is a positive presence. I also think that it's a lot easier to move around, on a bike, for instance, to get to any problem that there is. And I just think it's also promoting the use of alternative transportation.
I think it's a real good idea. I liked it when they were here before, and I'm glad they're back.
I think just to make downtown a more of a family-friendly environment. I think a lot of people were thinking that it was not necessarily a safe place to be. And downtown is very safe to be. And I think that we're just wanting to make sure that everybody feels that way as well.
You can get more information about our police department and how they fight crime in our neighborhoods by visiting www.cob.org/police. Well, it's springtime and our gardens are calling to us. Early in our show, Kim Spens described the changes in the health of Lake Whatcom. Now, in the second part of this Lake Whatcom story, Kim gives specific tips how to make your lawn and your garden lake-friendly, no matter where you live.
You gotta be kidding. They're banning fertilizer in the watershed? How do I even know I'm in the watershed?
Well, you know you're in the watershed if you pass one of these signs as you enter the watershed, or if you can see the lake from your home as you look down, or if you're in Silver Beach neighborhood, Geneva neighborhood, Hillsdale neighborhood, some of Barclay neighborhood, anywhere along North Shore or Lake Whatcom Boulevard or Sudden Valley, or if you can look around and see that you're hemmed in by these beautiful mountains that surround the lake, then you're in the Lake Whatcom watershed.
Okay, so I'm in the watershed. What does that mean for my lawn? I want a green lawn. Everybody knows you have to use fertilizer to get a green lawn.
Well, there's three main ingredients in lawn fertilizer: potassium, nitrogen, and phosphorus. And it's the phosphorus part that has been banned throughout the watershed. The good news is there's phosphorus naturally occurring in our soils in the watershed, so your lawn doesn't really need an extra dose of it. The phosphorus in the soil is locked in, unless it's exposed, of course, but the fertilizer is actually put on top and sits there, and when it rains, it washes the phosphorus and the other ingredients into the lake. The problem with that is there's all these algae out there waiting to just gobble up phosphorus. It feeds the algae, and when they die, it uses the dissolved oxygen in the lake. The problem with that is it causes taste and health problems in the water and increased treatment costs at the water treatment plant. So phosphorus has been banned in the watershed.
If phosphorus is everywhere, what makes it so bad? What's the matter with adding just a little bit more?
Well, it isn't the phosphorus itself that's the problem, it's the excess phosphorus. So it's a little bit added by a lot of people, has made a big impact on the water quality. We're starting to see trends in the decline of water quality in the lake, and although it's very good still and it's very healthy, the trend is enough to say we need to do something now. And so phosphorus fertilizers in the watershed are now prohibited.
So you're telling me that fertilizer is the cause of the decline in water quality?
Sure, there's other sources of phosphorus in the watershed, and the city is trying to do something about each and every one of them. For example, stormwater, which is from cars and road runoff. The city has posted signs around the watershed encouraging people to take mass transit or carpool, things like that reduce trips. They're also retrofitting stormwater facilities and designing new ones. There's exposed soil. The city and the county have new clearing restrictions at certain times of the year to minimize the amount of soil that runs into the lake. There's car washing. The city's encouraging and educating people about taking their cars to a commercial car wash where the water's treated. And there's dog waste. The city has a wonderful program called Hounds for Healthy Watersheds with dog waste stations all around the lake. But getting rid of phosphorus fertilizer eliminates a huge source of phosphorus in the lake, and it's something each and every one of us can do.
All right, I understand. I don't need phosphorus to get a green lawn. Cutting down on phosphorus will help the lake. I still want a green lawn. My lawn needs nutrients. How do I know which fertilizers will be lake friendly?
Well, there are 3 letters on a bag of fertilizer, N, P, and K. The P stands for phosphorus. There's corresponding numbers. You want the phosphorus component to be 0, so that middle number should be 0 to be phosphorus free. And if you're not certain, you can check with the clerk. But part of being lake friendly is knowing how and when to use fertilizer. So during the growing season, just leave your clippings on the lawn. And then if you must, fertilize only on Labor Day and follow the package directions explicitly. Now that's using just the phosphorus-free fertilizer. Otherwise, you're wasting your time, you're wasting your money, and potentially harming the lake. We need to take care of the things we can most easily control. This is a great opportunity for watershed residents to be part of the solution. And it just takes one little change like this to help keep the lake healthy and our drinking water clean.
For more information and lake-friendly tips, visit www.cob.org. Well, we hope you enjoyed this show from the Silver Beach neighborhood. Our goal is to keep you informed about what's happening in the city of Bellingham. One of the greatest, no, that's not right, the greatest city in the whole nation to live, work, and play. If you have feedback or ideas, we'd love to hear from you. You can reach us through our website or directly via email. From all of us at BTV10, we'd like to dedicate this lakeside edition of Inside Bellingham to Joan Beardsley, a longtime resident of Bellingham, a much loved and respected educator, and a thoughtful, engaged community leader. Her passion for the environment and public service will serve as an inspiration to us all. She is and will be greatly missed. Well, it's springtime, so get out there and walk a little, visit our wonderful neighborhoods, enjoy the colorful blossoms, green grass, budding trees, and blue water. I'm Doug Waldo. Thanks for watching.